And that was one of the major setbacks of the NSAS protest.
But the Defense for Human Rights and Democracy is insisting that there is no going back on the nationwide protest against the current economic hardship in the country. Chairman of the group, Clifford Solomon, said the federal government has failed to prioritize the welfare of citizens. He urged his members not to relent, but to come out and join the protest.
The Defense for Human Rights and Democracy DHRD August 1st protest is sacrosanct. The protest tagged End Bad Governance, Enough is Enough, is necessitated on the failure of the government to protecting lives and properties and prioritizing the welfare of citizens. In Nigeria, life has become unbearable as the economy is inflicting extreme poverty on citizens, and as a result, many are committing suicide due to hunger, starvation, and lack of basic needs.
Well, as you can tell, reactions have trailed both positions. So my guest this morning is Mr. Young Ayo-Tamuno, the State Director, National Orientation Agency. Good morning, Mr. Young.
Good morning.
Thank you for making the time, sir.
Yeah.
All right, for clarity, and this is important, what is your position and that of the NOA on the proposed action?
Very clearly, let me go straight, and I want to make that distinction, having been given another opportunity, because if you listen to your news headline, you actually said that I had stated that Nigerians should not embark on strike.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the narratives that came after that, you went on to talk about, in fact, the voicing talked about non-violence, and I think that is what the NOA is guiding against.
Okay.
Yes, I said clearly in that interview, I tried to raise the implications of a violent conflict, that at the end of the day, there will be disorder. At the end of the day, it ends up in lawlessness, and that vulnerable groups, especially women, mothers, and children, are bound to suffer. Now, going forward, let me clearly state that the Nigerian Constitution is very clear on the right of Nigerians to protest as part of airing their grievances. In fact, Section 39 talks about the freedom of expression. And when you go to Section 40, it talks about the right to assemble.
Peaceful assembly.
Yeah, peaceful assembly, and so on. But these rights in themselves, in fact, from 36 to 40 and 41, are not absolute rights, especially when issues of violence, possibly deprivation of citizens, when some of these processes turn violent, they are no longer absolute rights of these citizens. And so certain actions can be taken to curtail such expressions that have gone violent. So our own position is very clear. We uphold the right of Nigerians to protest. But if you have to protest, it has to be responsibly, it has to be lawfully, and we don't want any regression going into talking about violence. So that is our take clearly on this matter.
Well, Mr. Young, the thing is, at this time, it would seem like anybody who suggests that the protest should not hold is an enemy of Nigeria. It would seem that way. Because the reactions to whoever voices that opinion, we even had some people this morning, speak against, and quite energetically. And you would get questions like, are you not a Nigerian in Nigeria? Don't you see what's going on? Why will you suggest in any way, shape or form that Nigerians should not protest? So I'd like you to tell me, what conditions should warrant a protest?
It's very clear. What is protest in the first place?
Airing of grievances.
Yes, it's a means of airing grievances, and of course, it could take several forms. It could take occupation. For instance, we are very particular. We are in Niger Delta. We have seen occupations in the relationship between communities and IOCs.
Yeah,
we have seen occupations. It can take the form of sit in, in the office and sitting in particular places. It could, that's especially in terms of corporate organizations.
Yeah.
And labor sometimes can also call for sitting, and it could take other forms, including the one that public demonstrations, and so on. So these are forms of protests that we have. Now, what is your question is?
What should warrant a protest?
Yes, what should warrant a protest is where citizens feel particularly aggrieved about certain policy actions by governments, and not only governments. When we talk about governments, even at the community level, if citizens feel aggrieved about the role of the leadership of the community, it could be the Council of Chiefs, it could be the EZIS or whatever.
Some structure of leadership.
Some structure of leadership, yes. The citizens might protest against that, ultimately seeking an adjustment of some of these policies, and sometimes leading to a change in such policies. So definitely, there are many reasons why. There are many reasons for which protests could come up, but these are majorly, especially when it comes to issue of change in policy, adjustments in policy, where it does not go down well with a critical mass of the people. So you see protests,
So many Nigerians would say that they have explored every engagement option with government. They've had dialogue, they've tried to appeal, I'm sure letters have been written and all of that, and it seems like they've not gotten the desired response. So the only option on the table right now would be demonstrations. Do you agree with this position?
I don't agree with this position.
Tell me why.
Because for me, I believe that dialogue is inexhaustible. I also believe that we have explored, but not sufficiently, not exhaustively, the structures, the structures of leadership in society. We shouldn't forget in a hurry the fact that we had an election in 2023, and in fact the issues arising from that election were not determined not until about September, October 2023. And so if you look at governance from that point, when governments now started taking full charge of the business of government, you also see that the time, is just about a year plus now. If we have to use the May 2023 as a standard, about a year, 3 months. So dialogue cannot be exhausted. We have elected members of the National Assembly, and these members of the National Assembly are also making laws. We shouldn't forget that the members of the National Assembly, they are also our representatives for airing our grievance. So I think citizens have also done well. Citizens seem to be reacting to some of the policies, from the National Assembly, and as it stands now, we are also, with what is happening. Nigeria is part of a global village. With what is happening in other areas of the world, other parts of the world, Nigerians seem to also copy what could be done. For instance, one of the major triggers of this protests currently, one of the catalyzers is what is happening in Kenya, and the response of the Gen Zs, the way they have also carried on that protest and government's response to it. But like I said in my earlier comments, which you read during the news, I said there are no two jurisdictions that are the same. We are a highly diverse people with diverse interests. It is not also correct that all Nigerians that want these protests, that is the beauty of democracy. Majority will have their way, but the minority will also have their say. So there are also quite a number of persons. If you look at the narratives from these different media that we have, you will also see that there are also those that are also saying that, look, let's adopt a sense of reasoning. Let us also look at it the other way around. Can we give it some more time? Let government be a bit more stable to carry out some of these policies. So that is what the situation actually is.
Well, Mr. Young, a few reactions to some things you've said. First of all, I don't agree that the Kenyan situation is the inspiration behind Nigeria's proposed action. And while, yes, it's also an African country and they are going through what they are going through, we have our challenges as well. And we are not new to the business of protesting, right? Even though we have neighbors who have explored that option. Secondly, a lot of people, and this is not me taking sides, but understanding the motivation behind the reaction, a lot of people do not even want to hear, let us give some more time. Because the questions that will follow that is, how much time do we have to spare? What has been done with all the time that has been given? One of the channels for dialogue, like you said, is the legislature. You have reps who you elected to go and represent you. And people do not feel represented by their lawmakers. And while Nigeria may not be fixed at the snap of a finger or the flick of a switch, there are changes and improvements that could happen within the time that has been given. 1 year in office, there should be things that will come with it. And regardless of an understanding of how governance works, if I wake up tomorrow and the price of fuel, the price of a bag of rice, and all the things that I need to thrive and survive is inflated, the average Nigerian will blame its leaders, regardless of the economic policies and an understanding. And they should. Because on the heels of getting elected, there were promises made. So, how much time will Nigerians give? And what has been done with the time that they have given?
Well, let me, when you say, I said what part of what has catalyzed, the new wave. It's not that there are no reasons for Nigerians, that Nigerians had no reason prior to this time, to have protested.
Yeah.
Of course, we saw the NSAS protest, and after the NSAS protest, even the change of Naira notes, that was early last year. We also saw that, especially in this part of the country. We saw what happened. But having said that, I also said that the Kenyan situation appears to have, perhaps, let me put it the other way, aggravated the interest for this protest. The other issue that you have raised is the issue of how much time. It's not also correct that the legislature has not been doing anything.
Okay.
The legislature has been working. The legislature, particularly, what is the function of legislature? To make laws, provide oversight, give representation, and of course appropriation. Within the limits of the appropriation, they have been carrying out their legitimate their mandate.
Yeah, it is. All right. We'll have to put a pin on that. We have a break coming up. After that, we continue this conversation. Please stay with us.
3 Nigeria Info.
Pleading with them, protest, especially when it goes violent, does not help anybody. The vulnerable groups, especially women, mothers, and children, are the most affected, and that they should give the presidency some more time so that some of the policies that they have can actually, in tackling the economic and socio-economic situation of the country, actually mature. So let's give the president some time to actually actualize the program that he has under his renewed hope agenda.
Welcome back. It still is the Morning Crossfire. You just heard the words and voice of the National Orientation Agency State Director, Mr. Young Ayo-Tamuno. You're welcome once again, sir.
Yeah, just before marketing.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, I have to survive.
Very important.
Yeah, very important. Just before that bends. Well, we were. I talked about the fact that the legislature is there, that we need to give government more time, and you even asked if the legislature has done enough, and I said the legislature is taking its time, within its mandates, within its political, within its constitutional mandate to do what it is supposed to do. I've mentioned here, primarily their function is lawmaking, representation, appropriation, and oversight, and this. They have been carrying out within this short period. You can see quite a number of things. Some of the things that they do, citizens have actually protested. We are aware, for instance, the change of a national anthem. Citizens, majority of the citizens felt that that was not the priority. Yes, these are some of the differences that citizens have towards the work of the legislature. But there are also some major points, some major gains. For instance, the speed with which they handle the issue of a minimum wage. When we say minimum wage, how does it also affect the private sector? I'm sure that one way or the other, the private sector has to be impacted by the minimum wage, because there's a minimum standard as to when, especially corporate organizations, having looked at that of the public sector to be 70,000 as minimum wage, and also taking to the position of the president, they have also said instead of negotiating it every 5 years, why not we look at it every 3 years? So this is 2024. By 2027, we expect that we should be talking about renegotiating a new minimum wage. So they have done that. In terms of oversight, you also saw recently their intervention when the issue of Dangote refinery and so on came. Let's give kudos to this assembly, the 9th assembly, and then the 10th assembly, the PIA Act. And currently people are even saying that, okay, why not we adjust the PIA Act to make sure that it serves everybody's interest. So let's just in the last 24 hours, we have also seen the president come out very actively, to say that, okay, let's give Dangote refinery crude oil, in naira, and let it in naira. So some of it is that, the protests, the supposed or purported protests that is to take place from 1st of August has already started yielding. The president has assured us that he's a listening president. It's not being held or being restricted by any cabal, so to say, that he's the same person that is on top of governance. So he has taken charge. So let's see what can come out of it. But to say that the protests has not, the threats or protest has not achieved anything, I don't agree with that. I saw a clip by the Minister of State for Police Affairs where she said they are going to recruit about 34,000 policemen. And already advert is out to recruit about 10,000 for this year alone. So a lot of things. We just have the budgets for this year is still on. The budget for this year is still on. Let's see what comes out of that budget.
All right.
So these are some of the things. So giving it time, we can give it as much as the end of this year. We can give it as much as the end of this year, and let us see how governance goes. So when we say time, it's not a time in perpetuity, but let's see how government could also settle down. A lot of things are happening, devolving of powers to also the states. So all these things are happening on the part of the legislature.
All right. Now, Mr. Young, for everything you mention that would be considered a win for the legislature, I'm sure Nigerians can mention 5 other areas where a lot is left to be desired. But I think the biggest pointer to the idea that the reps are not representing would be the emoluments and lifestyle of our lawmakers. Many times it appears it is in sharp contrast to the reality of Nigerians. And I will not believe, or rather it's difficult for me to believe that a person that does not understand my reality can represent me. Because my representation would be in my voice. So you have to get it. So when Nigerians complain and say many of our lawmakers, and that's one of many parts to tackle when we're talking about bad governance, do not represent us because they do not relate with our experiences. It usually is around lifestyle and how everybody believes that, you know, they have finished our money, they have eaten what is left of the national cake and all of that.
Yeah, we have that feedback also. You know, you can't take away the fact that part of our statutory mandate is that we listen to the people. We are there at the grassroots. Our offices are there in the 774 local government areas of the country, and we have state offices in the 36 states plus FCT, and we have the national office. So we have some of these feedbacks. These are feedbacks that are right there in the public domain, and that is also part of what the protesters, you know, randomly have also brought up as part of their reason for the protests, talking about the cost of governance, going to the lifestyle of the legislatures. Obviously, the same legislature that is in charge of lawmaking is also in charge of the budgeting process, especially the House of Reps. And so the views of citizens is the fact that, okay, because they have the opportunity, you know, they are not actually responsible for the fixing of salaries, wages. That is the responsibility of the National Fiscal Allocation and Mobilization Commission. But when it comes to finally whatever comes, they have a say.
They are not responsible, but they are influential.
Yeah. So yes, that's the point. Yeah, they are influential, and so Nigerians are not too happy about it, especially when some subheads of the budgets have been repeated over and again. You know, such subheads have been repeated, and some also directly benefit them. But I think the balance is that they are not directly responsible for the fixing of their salaries. That is the function of the executive to do, and it's also negotiable. The House of Reps at some point came up with the fact that they are going to lease up about 50% of their salaries, you know, as part of cushioning the effect that we currently have. Okay. So all these are part of it. But to say that the cost of governance is key, generally, not only for the legislature, for the executive itself. The cost of governance, cutting down on it, is also part of what has randomly been raised as the cause for this protest.
All right, it's time for you to be a part of the conversation. There are statements and reactions from the police, from the Ministry of Education, from civil society, and many more quarters. But my question for you this morning is very simply, how can Nigerians keep the protest violent-free? How can Nigerians keep the protest violent-free if there will be a protest? You want to say something?
Yes, I want to say something. First, taken from the executive arm, that's the police now. The police has come out clearly, the IGP has come out clearly to say that we need to know the faces. Whom are we dealing with? You can't be, you know, we are in a social media age, and everybody is more or less a guerrilla media person. So you see clips every day, and this on different apps, and you don't even know who to discuss with. But fortunately for us, in the last 72 hours, something had happened. Ebun Adegurua has also come out to apply on behalf of the End Bad Governance protesters. He has actually come to apply and has applied for police security. And if you look at the stance of the police in the last 72 hours, you will see that there is a gradual adjustment in policy. The way it came out from the beginning to say that there should be no protest is going to... Now police, the IGP has come out to say, okay, police commissioners, please give protection, give security to lawful protesters. Make sure that... And then the police commissioner has also come out with also some other policy guidelines. You have to apply if you have to protest, also stating via your protests, the routes of your protests, the venues where you are going to protest. It's not as if it's limiting their right to protest, but in order to provide security
Mr. Young,
for both the protesters and also those that are not protesting.
Mr.
It
Young,
is important that we know whom we are dealing with and who to dialogue with.
you don't expect, considering history and culture, right, the history people have with the police, for them to believe the words of the police at this time. And I know that in line with due process, this is what should be. But if you live in a country where people have had experiences where they reported criminals and they claim that the police told the criminals, gave them the identity of the person who came to report, not once, not twice, in different... So you don't expect people to believe that that same force would protect them if they come forward to identify themselves as protesters and where they will protest. So this while it's what should be, the relationship between the citizen and law enforcement right now in Nigeria is not at that point where people want to comply with that directive.
Yes, we have always dealt with these issues. You see, people say the police cannot be trusted with information. In every institution, definitely there are bound to be a few, bad. You can't rule out the fact that you might have some bad eggs. But we have also carried out a study. Most often.
The NOA?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes, most often. Why you say you can't trust police with information? The citizens too also have a problem. For instance, you are coming to report somebody. You have seen somebody, you are coming to say something to the police. You have come to report the person. You that has made that report, enjoying the confidence of the police, you are the same person that has gone to your neighbor to tell him that, look, I've dealt with this person. Look, I've dealt with so and so person. He will see what will be done to him.
So
and then he turn back to say that it is the police that has given such information.
We don't.
So it's a two-way thing.
We don't have a lot of time, but I would really like us to take calls now. But before I do, let me take the position of the police. The Rivers State Commissioner of Police, Olatunji Disu, assured the public that operatives of the command have been trained to ensure that law and order is maintained during the 1st of August protests. Correspondent Emeka Otuka reports that the CP said this while answering questions about the command's readiness for the protest. The Rivers CP also said the command is engaging with relevant stakeholders to ensure the protest remains civil. I'll play this and then open the phone lines.
That's a concern to us. We have been having meetings with a lot of our stakeholders, very, very important stakeholders in the community. We had some meetings, and more meetings have been slated for tomorrow and then Monday. On the side of the police, our men are prepared. We have talked to them again and again. Most importantly, we know we don't want to create a situation of we versus them. We are all engaged together. The officers have been told what to do. We have withdrawn our men from essential duties. We have talked to them. They have been trained again and again. We are ready to hold any situation that brings itself to us.
All right, we already have some people on the phone. 08179230002. George from Buma. Good morning, George.
Yes, Oracle. Good morning. Let me greet
Thanks
the guests
for
in
staying on the
You
line.
see, Oracle,
Yes.
going by the fact that Nigerians should persevere with the current government, I think if we look back when we begin to persevere, it is from the era of the former president. Now, can't it from that? Now, you can see that Nigerians have waited too long. Now, they are still telling us to wait. Wait for what? Wait that you are doing something that is tangible for the eyes to see or to behold. I don't understand. And that is why see, even as I speak to you now, whether like take it or leave it, the protests have started even before the 1st of August, because the body language of the protest is on long ago, since over 1 week back. Because that is why you see the government is being jittery. I am telling you, you can see somebody from the Yoruba clan, Sunday Igboho, telling Nigerians not to protest. But in his own time, he almost owed the country to ransom. But
George, hold on. Hello, George. Hello.
And what is happening?
George.
You understand? Yes.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Yes, you need to listen as you speak. This will not be reduced to an ethnic, that's not what it is. There's a proposed protest.
We are not saying that. We are not saying it is ethnic issue. But when you are telling people, you must also consider your own action when you
yes,
were
so
almost doing
stating
now,
that a person from a particular region.
To...
Okay, George, when you call, it's supposed to be a conversation. You talk and then you listen. So please, while Nigerians are aggrieved and would like to demonstrate their grievances, it's important to be very careful about how we go about this.
Yeah.
Very important. And also how we talk about it. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, SOC.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for staying on the line.
Greetings to your guests in the studio.
Good morning.
SOC, I want to correct one impression.
Go ahead.
You see, when we are talking about the NSAS protest, I see it as an institution of the federal government that has a specific duty to discharge in their day-to-day activities, which the masses found unbearable because of their brutality. But we are talking about the suffering of the country citizens that is directed to the federal government. So I don't know why we are comparing the NSAS protest that led to some casualties and some certain things that we did not accept. This is a direct protest to the federal government for them to correct and amend their policy that is not friendly to the masses. So if you ask me, allow them to protest, but give them the possibility of the security they needed. And there is one thing also I want to correct. They now have cited some negative sides, letting people to know that they're supposed to do something that will connect the protest, which may be negative or be controversial. So I thought we should use our diplomacy in this particular issue. Protest is what we are asking for, to demand for our rights, which we have been demanding amicably since our refineries are yet to be fixed up. Okay, imagine 40,000 naira per bag has been let the masses to know.
Okay.
Only yesterday they approved the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Now minus 40,000. How much will it be in a month?
All right, Ken. Thank you very much. Later, Barry from Bori. Thanks for holding on.
Good morning, it's Sam Oracle.
Good morning.
I've wasted a lot of time here. Concerning this issue, we talked about having patience, and the government has been telling us that. Let me ask you, Sam Oracle, if somebody is sick and almost at the point of death, and they say take this person to a doctor or a hospital, and you keep telling the people, wait until the person dies, how did you think the society will react towards your action? That's number one. Two.
Oh my. Apologize for that because you've been waiting for a bit. JJ from Rumibo, good morning.
Yeah, Sam, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me greet your guest.
Yeah, JJ.
I heard him talk about the legislator have done one or two things. They don't have a right over their salaries and all those. Revenue mobilization is in charge. I want to ask, are these not the same people who told us they've reduced their their salary by 50% to help Nigerians. If they don't have rights, why would they do that? If they have right to do that, they should also have right to also say use the 50%, the remaining 50%, because allowances are calculated based on your salary. Since you have approved half of it, then calculate the allowances too with the remaining 50%. How about that? These same people are here when Dangote was crying and was shouting that people have blending plants abroad. That is why they are frustrating him from employing our people, from producing a local product here. That alone should call for protest in a country where people are listening. So as far as I'm concerned, all these things you talked about the president doing are just surfacey. It's not touching the man on the street. You're bringing rice now for 50,000 naira. Gary is how much? Gary that we drink every day is how much? Okay, right now we're not cover for Gary. We'll pour water and begin to see. Instead of using to make sure the petrol is available, and finally is our own work. What do you? You're bringing fish. You're bringing Gary. You're bringing rice. Rice we'll put rice in our vehicle and move it now. We just do things. We're looking for the eyes of a fish. We check the tail side and we think we're checking. The president and presidency are just thinking of, let's keep people busy. In the house and nothing. I beg.
Thank you, JJ. Mufasa from NT Road. Good morning.
Yeah, hi Sam. Good morning, and good morning to the gentleman in the studio.
Good morning.
Well, Sam, I know that the government does not want anybody to come out. I mean, the government is against protest. And I'm not surprised with the point of your guest, because the National Registration Agency is an agent of government. So they will not even come out to tell us that protest is good in the first instance. But let me say this, that it will not be entirely correct to say that we are drawing inspiration from what happened in Kenya. Nigeria as a country is a product of protest. Go down back pre-colonial era. When we have the likes of the Zig, the awards, they protested and they stand up against the oppressive tendencies of, the colonial masters. They moved down through a military regime and down to them. We have been protesting and we're getting results. So when you want to extrapolate by trying to make reference to what happened in NSTAS, we should also reference those protests that have given good and positive results. They've been telling us to be patient for a very long time. Is that what we tell our children? Go to the production and try to buy fuel. They will tell a little of it is 850 naira. And somebody will wake up and tell me that people from outside the country are the one sponsoring protest. I'm happy. I'm happy that he has alluded that the protest has already started. And that because of even the main nation of protest, the government are trying to scratch the surface by telling us that they are selling fuel to Dangote. What happened to our refinery?
All right.
Why can't we fix our refinery fuel for our people to buy at an affordable rate?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mufasa.
Stop blackmailing Nigerians by telling us that there's going to be violence and all of that. Allow people to come out and state their dissatisfaction against the government that is not producing results. Thank you, and have a fantastic day.
All right, thank you very much. I believe Mr. Young would respond to as many calls as we've taken. But very quickly, I'd like to say, and this is in response to some of the calls, every official that I have heard talk about this protest started by stating that it is the constitutional right of Nigerians, including my guest here. He said it very clearly. The Senate President also said it. You have a right to protest. Following that as well, the part of the Constitution that guarantees that right talks about peaceful assembly, not violent assembly. So people gathering to air grievance is very much allowed, and it has been stated and confirmed. And that's why this conversation and the question is, how can Nigerians keep the protest, if it's going to happen, violent-free? Mr. Young, you have about 2 minutes.
Let me quickly react to some of the... Yes, somebody said Nigeria is a product of protests. Yes, Nigeria was a product of protests, but these things were constitutionally done. That is why we had the constitutional conferences before independence. And remember that the Lancaster House was one of the major conferences that we had. So what I'm saying here is that whatever the protests are, that at the end of the day, we return to the table to dialogue about them. And we need to know people to dialogue with. Now the second one, that's from JJ, who talked about the fact that since they can give half of their salary, of course that is voluntary and discretionary. It doesn't mean that it is now law. At the appropriate time, when things improve, they can come back to say, okay, restore our full salary. It is discretionary to them.
Well, Mr. Young, you
Now,
have to wrap up. We have just 30 seconds.
Yes. The other one is that the legislature intervened in the issue of Dangote refinery. They intervened. They even went there on oversight, and they intervened. Now, the person who talked, when I started there, I said, we must be conscious of our diversities.
We're out of time, sir.
Yes.
Your concluding statement, one sentence.
My concluding statement, very quickly, is that we are talking about change in terms of adjustment of government policies and not change of government.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
You are tuned in to
Nigeria Info. We'll be right back after this.